Hello everyone, this is Hedgepig, and this is a Saturday late afternoon stream, and hello! uh, Today I am going to be making a white chicken mushroom lasagna. It's one of my alternates and actually my favorite kind of lasagna.
4 months. Where's my food?
It's coming. It's coming. Yes, with a 4 month subscription, if you are my husband, you get food. Um, anyway, so the recipe will be up after stream. I need to catch up with some of my recipes for my soups that I haven't got up yet. But this is a recipe that's already written out. I just haven't transferred it. So, white chicken lasagna. Most lasagnas seem to be with a red sauce. That's kind of classic. And we've done that, which is the same basic sauce as my spaghetti sauce. It's a fresh marinara sauce made with meat and everything, and it's red. That's the classic. Now, this white chicken lasagna is made with, obviously, chicken, plus it is made with a white bechamel, a white sauce that I stir sour cream into, and it's got sauteed mushrooms and onions and celery and chicken, of course, and lots of herbs. And then when you're done, you stir in sliced olives and you begin assembling your lasagna. So, without further ado, I am going to start with the onions and celery, which you need to sweat down first. So, this is getting to be quite warm here from my cooking. I am doing my bit of movie magic this time because I don't think anybody would be too entertained with me just babbling on for about 45 minutes, 50 minutes while the thing cooks. So I've got one in the oven now, and this one I am constructing will go into the freezer. So, let's turn our heat on. That's 3 tablespoons of butter, and it's about a tablespoon of oil, which will raise the burn temperature basically on the butter. And I will start getting the celery together. And this is a finer dice than what you usually see me do because the celery is supposed to be a background member in this ensemble. And so I've got about a stick and a half. I'm doing this as a half recipe twice, basically. This would call normally for 3 large celery stalks that you would then dice fairly small. As you can see, they are fairly small, unlike my usual, which tends to be I cut the celery in half lengthwise and then just chop it. And we usually do that for the texture, but in a lasagna, there's less texture involved. You want to have the celery and the onions be a background, and let the chicken and mushrooms be the star with all of the oozy melted cheese. And this also uses a blend of cottage cheese. It also uses Colby Jack shredded, and it also uses mozzarella. And it's really a wonderful lasagna. I made this for one of my cousins. This makes 2 trays of lasagna, to warn you. So you can cut this recipe in half and just do 1 tray. Or you can make one for right now and throw it in the oven, and you could put the other one in the freezer to have another day when you just want to pull it out because you've got company. And now for my onions, I am going to dice the onions as well, carefully. And a tight little onion. Okay. And then I have been asked to show off my knife work. Well, this is my knife work. I'm not a trained chef. I don't do that hyper speed chop, 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 chop. I could do it, but I'd probably be leaving fingers behind. We don't want that. I do bleed easily, so that's another bad thing. So I would prefer that my knife work is about the precision of size, so that they're all approximately the same size, and that's really what you're going for, so it all cooks at the same speed. And that goes into my garbage bin. And now I hold on to this slippery little sucker and make one cut down the middle here. I cut it in half, leaving, well, this onion end here, which is the root end, to theoretically hold my onion together, but I cut all the way through it and I did not intend to do that. So, yay, Hedgie. And I want to say hello to Tina Bug, who is apparently on her mobile right now, but is trying to get home, so drive safely. And my husband says I have a few lurkers out there. Welcome in, lurkers. And please say hi. That will give your number to my account. And I do thank you for coming, even if you're only lurking. We love our lurkers. Feel free to say hello, ask any question you want. Please feel free to say hello and ask any questions you want of what I'm doing or why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I will try to answer your questions and not turn my head away from the microphone. Still getting used to having a microphone instead of the microphone that's built in on my headset. So this is about a stalk and a half of celery along with one rather small sweet onion. It's kind of unusual because normally a sweet onion is a fairly large onion. So that's fine. The important thing is the flavor of the onion and that it has the proper knife skills there, where you've got the celery and onions at approximately the same size. So I am going to start sweating the onions and celery down, and what that means basically is that you cook it until it goes translucent, meaning basically you don't see the opaque white and opaque green that these are. What you actually see becomes a mostly clear onion and a mostly cleared piece of celery. And to this, I am going to start adding mushrooms. And for the full recipe, it's 16 ounces of cremini mushrooms. I'm using 8 here on this one. And then I'm basically cutting it a little finer than I usually do. So instead of just quartering it, it's 6 or 8 pieces across the board. And these are nice fresh cremini mushrooms, and these are called baby bellas, and that is because their little backs are brown, and basically this is a baby portobello mushroom. If you let it grow, it would end up being at least this big, if not larger. Portobellos can get pretty darn large, and they're very tasty. They have a much meatier taste to them than the button mushrooms or the wood ear, chanterelles, maitake. It is a beefy almost tasting mushroom, which is really great if you're going to add it to a dish that has beef in it. In this case, it's just a mix of mushrooms that I'm putting in this. So I've got these mushrooms, and I have also these creminis. I've also got basically 8 ounces of a white button mushroom, and that's the really common mushroom. I mean, it doesn't actually cost that much less than these baby bellas, and or you could reverse that and say that the baby bellas only cost about 50 cents more on a 1 pound package. So if you're going and doing a beef dish or something where you want a very meaty, strong mushroom presence, if you're doing a blend of mushrooms like I am here, go ahead and get the creminis. They're not that much more expensive, and they add a lot of mushroom flavor, which is really a good thing. So as you can see, this little guy here is much, much smaller than the adult portobello is. So these are just baby mushrooms, and they give their life for you. Ah, the horror! The knife, not the knife. So as you can see, I'm cutting these considerably finer than I normally do, and that's because, well, once again, they're more of a co-star of the dish rather than the, prime member of the dish. But with the amount of mushrooms I put in here, there's a lot of mushrooms. There is, for a full recipe, there is about 2.5 pounds of mushrooms. Yeah, that's a lot of mushrooms. And you are putting in probably 2 pounds of chicken in this too. You can use chicken breasts, chicken tenderloins. You can use the thighs. Oddly, around here we are having trouble getting chicken in, so it's very, very rare that you go to the grocery store and they don't have any chicken. But that's actually what's been happening to us. We've tried to get a hold of it, and if we're lucky, we sometimes get chicken thighs or chicken breasts, but right now we had to go with what I had in the freezer, so it was chicken breasts, even though I prefer the flavor of chicken thighs. Being a dark meat, it just has, it's juicier and it has a bit more flavor, I think, than the chicken breasts. I mean, with the turkeys and such, when everybody's there, yeah, people like the turkey breast and all, but you can usually have somebody at the table also saying, I want the dark meat, I want the dark meat. And there's a reason for that. It's close to the bone, and close to the bone just picks up a little more flavor. It's also a fattier meat on the thighs, so fat is flavor, and that's basically a good rule of thumb, along with brown tastes good. So, alright, let's take a look at these and stir them around a bit. They're not quite ready yet to have the mushrooms added. Probably wouldn't hurt, but all in due time. It needs probably another minute. So I have now got that out of the way, and it is time to get out the white mushrooms, which are pre-sliced, which is kind of nice. And I am going to dump those in to cook, and then add these cremini mushrooms. So that is a good solid pound of mushrooms in here, over a pound. And we're going to start cooking those down now. That one needs to be separated. It's clinging. So this is cooked and sauteed in butter and oil. I'm not going to put any salt on these or anything like that now. That actually gets seasoned when it all goes together in the sauce. So now it's just a bit of a waiting game here. Hola! Someone said goodbye. In any case, this is the second of the lasagnas I cooked for y'all. The first one was, of course, my breakfast lasagna, which was kind of loosely based on, it was loosely based on biscuits and gravy is what it was loosely based on. And so it had a sausage country gravy made with milk, because no sometimes milk sauce on it, and just like a country gravy or sausage gravy as they would call it. And it had scrambled eggs and lots of cheese, and it was just creamy and yummy and just full of so much of the highlights of the biscuits and gravy. Sorry, I'm a little sleep deprived tonight. I got about, I don't know, an hour and a half of sleep since yesterday, so both Andrew and I are a wee bit loopy. So I wanted to introduce you to some more of the Hedgepig family. This is a trio from Gund, and they are Christmas hedgehogs that are wearing little antlers, and they are small, and I'm holding them up here. See their little faces, aren't they cute? They're smiling at you. They have little feet and little tummies and cute little smiley faces. And I don't know if you can hear that. They have little jingle bells in here between the size of these little devils and the little jingly bells. They are very, very popular with my cat. So Zoe likes them very much. And so we had to move those away from her so she can't get her little paws on it. And her little teeth and her little kicking and everything else kitties like to do with their toys. Anyway, sorry if the bell was horribly loud. It didn't sound loud to me, but maybe the microphone's more sensitive than my old ears. That would not surprise me a bit. So what you want to do at this point is now cook these mushrooms until they release their liquid, and that will be about 10 minutes, just so you know. And you just, use a wood implement so you can just sort of leave it there in the pot without hurting anything. And give it a few minutes, give it another flip, move things around so that the mushrooms that are on the top are now on the bottom and so forth, so they have more exposure to the direct heat. And after this is done, I will start on the chicken, and that will then have to saute cut up and saute it until it is done through. I never put unfinished poultry into any kind of a dish, even if it's going to cook longer. It's just a bad idea. You never know when you get a cold spot in the oven or something, and then you end up with pink chicken, and I don't care what anybody else says. Pink chicken is wrong and dangerous as far as I'm concerned. I do not want to get salmonella, so I will say this now. Cook your chicken all the way through. Just like I cook my meat, especially if it's hamburger. until it no longer shows pink. So even if it's going in a soup, even if it's going in a casserole, I still make sure you can eat everything that goes into it as it is. And basically at heart, lasagna is a casserole. It has the noodles, it has meat, it has vegetables, it has a sauce. You throw it in the oven and let it bake. And like I said, I did this recipe for one of my cousins at her rehearsal dinner. I made two regular red lasagnas, and then I made two of these to take along. And she's out on the coast of Washington, out there near the ocean, and she's not now, but at the time she was. And so I made two of these big white lasagnas and two of the red lasagnas, and someone else made some chocolate silk pie. Ooh, that was so good. From scratch. And there were other salads and stuff like that. But basically, I made these the day in advance, and then because it's about a 5-6 hour drive down to where she was, I threw them into the freezer right away, and we packed for, at the start, frozen lasagnas, and had them open in the trunk of the car, which was a station wagon, so it was all kind of one compartment. And they had the opportunity to thaw on the way there. And that is one thing you can do with this recipe if you choose to make the full recipe. You can make 2 trays of lasagna and cook one right away and put the other one in the freezer to pull out at a later date when you have unexpected company, or you just don't feel like going to the trouble of making a complicated anything, and it's just easier to pull it out of the freezer. And at that point you cook it for 2 hours versus a fresh lasagna, which is what I'm doing here. Cooks for 45 minutes, then you take the top of the aluminum foil off so the cheese has direct heat applied to it, and that will let the top brown for 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how hot your oven is. And these mushrooms now are about half done. Some of them still have white in them, but most of them are turning a nice grayish beige, I guess the best description is. Doesn't really sound that appetizing unless you happen to really love mushrooms, which I do. So I just keep mixing these around, let them cook a little bit. And garbage. I'm going to move this off to the side. Have to especially make sure the really big mushrooms are cooked through. Hey MPH! Yeah, look at these mushrooms. This is mushrooms and onions and celery. And I am going to be making I am in the process of making a white chicken lasagna with mushrooms and olives and a couple different kinds, about 3 different kinds of cheeses. So that's very interesting. And how have you been, MPH? How's your cafe doing? And are you on the way in or at work or on the way home? So I know you're on the East Coast. This is a blend of white and cremini mushrooms in here. So it's a couple different mushrooms lending its flavor to this recipe. And I will put this down here. Move the rest of my spices there and get out the pan that I used earlier to mix the sauces up in. Sort of a holding dish of the ingredients as they get ready. So, this this has the liquid from the mushrooms in it, and I don't want to cook that down in this case because that mushroom combines with the sour cream bechamel sauce I make, and it adds the flavor of mushrooms all through the thing. So basically what I'm making is the equivalent of cream of mushroom soup. Oh, it's closed on the weekends. That's very clever of you. Okay, honey, I need the chicken now. I know, this is a very finicky recipe. And I'm putting a good 2 pounds into each one of these lasagnas. Thank you.
That's 45 minutes.
That's fine.
Take the foil off, yes?
It's good.
Take the foil off, yes?
Yes, if the 45 minutes is passed. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this off the heat because I don't want to scorch my pan while I go through my chicken. So as always, you want to make sure that everything you put in your dish is something you want to put in your mouth. So you need to check the pieces of chicken for hunks of fat that you don't really want to stick in your mouth and have it surprise you in the middle of your lasagna. You want to check it for cartilage and hard bits of tendon, especially as this is the breast, and so there are hard bits of cartilage and tendon in this upper area. What was that? About 10 minutes. And then where they divide the breast, there's also a ridge that goes down the middle, and sometimes it has the cartilage that's on top of the breastbone on it, and that's really unpleasant to bite into. So you want to make sure you've cut that off. And so that one's fine. And these have been microwaved for upwards of 20 minutes to thaw them. So these were frozen, boneless, skinless chicken breasts. They're not as expensive as a lot of kinds of meat, so that's nice. So what have you got planned for the weekend, MPH? You doing anything or just relaxing? So I'm just going to continue cleaning these chicken breasts. As you can see here in the upper corner, I hope you can, it looks a little out of focus to me, we've got this chunk of cartilage where this used to meet up against the wing, and we want that out. It's really tough, can't really chew through it. Basically just needs a notch in the chicken breast there to remove it. And that's gone, so you don't have to worry about anybody biting into that and being unpleasant. We had an exciting day here. We had a little bit before stream, we had some neighbors having an altercation that was very loud, and there was much screaming and slamming of doors and impact against the side of our apartment wall, which was, I would not say terribly thrilling. I don't really want to have it happen again, but we called the sheriff to have them come out and stop the domestic that was going on. I don't believe it was anybody that's been here any length of time, but all's quiet now, so that's good. Would have been exciting if we'd been on stream when all the slamming and impacts went on, because it actually shook our wall. That's not great. Okay, so that piece of chicken is ready to be cut up. Now we look at this little guy, and I find a piece I want to cut off on both sides. Now, the end product of these breasts, when you cut them up, are going to be pieces about a 1/4 inch wide and possibly about a 1/2 inch long. And this one looks fairly good at first glance. We'll nip that off. It's got some fat and other ook going on. And there's a place where the chicken breast had some joining areas, and we don't want those in our chicken, so I'll just cut them out. And then put it here, and as always, if you have raw chicken on something, you don't want to use it again until it has been washed. Salmonella is real and not a great way to go. Unfortunately, that's not inaccurate. People have died of salmonella, so always keep your work area clean. Oh. You have a food trailer also. What do you do on the food trailer? Is it like sandwiches or just an offshoot of your cafe? So I'm now cutting the chicken breasts into pieces that are, like I said, about a 1/4 inch wide. If you want to save some time and get yourself some chicken that's already cut for fajitas, that's about the right size, except you'll need to make it a little shorter for ease of eating. You don't want to have your chicken trailing off. So then after I get the width, then I come through here and I cut the length so that it is not such a big piece of chicken. I thought for a while that the way to get around my whole can't work in a kitchen thing would be to get a basically a food trailer and you know, maybe run something off of offices. And at the time I was out at the Hanford Nuclear Reservation, and one of the problems with that is that they're so far away from town. Oh, diner themed food trailer, cool. It's really hard for the workers out there to get good food. You can't just drive into town because it's like an hour trip. And so they have a couple food trucks out there, and some of them are really, really bad. And some of them are extremely good. There was one started by a woman whose sons worked out there, and you know, she basically came out there and brought them lunches and food, because it's not uncommon to have 12-hour shifts out there. And other people started seeing the food and liking the way it smelled, and you know, she soon came up with the idea of maybe I could make some money selling it to these other hungry people. And she was right. She is like the most popular one that was out there when I was last working there. And it was just really good homemade food. She rotated what it was that she cooked, but she usually had some Asian dishes and some Mexican comfort food, and then she usually had sandwiches and salads, and she also did breakfast sandwiches in the morning. So often the guys would hit her once in the morning for the breakfast sandwiches and then be back when she came out at lunchtime, and they would pick up their lunches from her. Food was really good. She was a phenomenal cook, and her breakfast sandwiches were really kind of beyond compare, especially with anything that was out there. You're looking at a competition of McDonald's, which is never in any kind of running with homemade food. I did not get all of the nastiness out of this one. Alright. Put that there for now. And then cut this up. And this is almost ready to go in. And I will be sauteing this again in butter and oil. Along with seasonings this time. That's going away. Alright. And this is just chicken breast. Perfectly serviceable meat. You could do this probably with ground chicken as well, but it's probably my imagination, but it just seems to taste different to me when it's a ground product. So, alright, I have got some butter here. Putting the pan back on the heat. And I've got a couple cubes of butter there, which are a tablespoon each. That's ready? Okay, take it out of the oven and let it sit there and rest. I am going to take and pour a little bit of canola oil on this. So that will help the butter not burn.
Turn the oven off.
Beg your pardon?
Oven off.
No, yeah, oven off. Yeah, now I'm going to take my other thing here and get it started going. And now I will add the chicken in here. You probably don't want to sit down yet, honey, because you're going to have to take the chicken board away. That to go away. And now I am going to use some hand wash on my hands because raw chicken. And do it twice here. Sure I get everything out from between my fingers. It may have been there. Then we go into the seasonings. Alright, I am going to, and this is being cooked over, and as the others were as well. This is a medium-high heat here on this. So I've got that going. I need my measuring spoon. teaspoon of basil. And this is dried basil leaves. And these are not sweet basil, which is completely a different flavor. It doesn't belong in this dish, so all this is just regular basil leaves. Thank you. Alright. And then we have half a teaspoon here of, this is ground sage. So I'm going to put some of that on here. And because this is heavy on dairy and that's not good for my mother, she doesn't get this, so I am going to salt this now. And this is probably going to be about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Maybe a little less. Because I always like to err on the side of you can add more salt. You can't take it out. So, there is my salt, and this is sea salt. And then I have about a 1/4 teaspoon that's going to go in here of ground rosemary. Okay. And then I've got a tablespoon of parsley. You know, I like my parsley. So we add this in here. Thank you. I appreciate that, MPH. It's just, you know, as usual, you want everything as close to the same size as you can get it, so it will cook at about the same rate. And let's just keep that going there, and you want to mix it around both so that everything gets all of the spices on it and they're well distributed, but also that you are getting it browned on all sides before you let it cook long enough to actually be cooked through. And that would be probably 6 or 7 minutes. And I'm done with that now. Alright, and yeah, I was asked by someone to show off my knife skills, and they were watching my friend Connor, who's a trained chef. He is one of my mods, but unfortunately he's in Europe. He's in England, so he's 8 hours ahead of us, and that does not usually mix well with my streams, especially if it's a work night for him. And anyway, he has a stream called The Only Deaf Guy, and he streams live from his cafe in Cheltenham, England, which is in Gloucestershire, and it is a restaurant called Roasted Cafe, and they specialize in rotisserie chicken. It is actually the only place in Gloucestershire where you can get rotisserie chicken. They basically cornered the market. No one else has a rotisserie. And sometimes they try it out as an experiment, some rotisserie pork, and that sold out in a flash in addition to their chicken. So they're going to branch out a little bit, I think. But in any case, Connor is a fully trained young chef, and he has just tremendous knife skills, and he's a wonderful cook. And he is, as a matter of fact, deaf. He and his uncle, who own the cafe, both of them, were born deaf, and they're really just incredible people. I strongly recommend, if you have not ever seen them, to give their channel a look at and see if you like it, and give them a follow. Yeah, same. I love seeing his stream too. Can we get a shout out for The Only Deaf Guy? He's not here, but he's here in spirit. I just know it. oregano and I put that in there. No, I did not. Oregano was actually the one thing I didn't put in there. I put in basil and sage. So I'm going to put the oregano in here it needs now, and that's a half teaspoon of oregano. Like I said, Andrew and I are going on maybe an hour's sleep, but I wanted to stream, so I've been promising it. I always feel really bad and guilty if I don't stream when I'm supposed to on my schedule, so we unfortunately had something come up on Tuesday and I wasn't feeling good, and Andrew put his foot down and said, nope, you're not streaming, and told you all about the same time I was hemming and hawing and going, well, I should, but I just feel so bad, and anyway, so we canceled the Tuesday stream. And then we're going to try to make it up with a stream during the week, but that didn't work either. It's just been a really hectic week around here. So we've had a lot of fronts come through. We've had 17-degree weather, which is -9 for anybody who wants to know the Celsius. And this is mostly turned opaque on the outside. I have a few places where the chicken meat has not been turned. So I'm going to get persnickety with it.
La 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 la.
Redeemed hydrate. Okay. I'm not sure if it's really hydrating if I'm drinking Monster, but hey, I'll hydrate. Thank you very much, MPH. We could also consider that a caffeinate, which is always fun with me because when Andrew and I were driving to get married, we came from Washington State and drove down through Oregon and California, across the Sierra Nevadas into Nevada. And we were driving through an area of California, and there was a sign, and I had been drinking coffee and little espresso shots from Starbucks called double shots. They're like little 8 ounces, it's a double shot of coffee and espresso. And I had been drinking that, and then when we would stop every couple hours and get a coffee when we could at the gas stations. And so we were driving along, and I had an extra tall coffee, and I had been drinking these shots, like I said. Andrew had given me a few sips of his Red Bull that he was drinking at the time. And I saw a sign, and it said Dunn Road, 2 miles. And then there was another one, Dunn Road, 1 mile. And then we had the joy of, it was like Dunn Road next turn. And I know it was the caffeine, but as we drove along, and these signs were whipping by pretty fast actually at the time, and I turned and looked at him and I said, Dunn! And then the next one, Dunn! And the last one, da da da! And then I just cracked up, and I could not stop laughing, and Andrew reached over there where I was holding my coffee cup and took it away from me and said, no. That was very funny. Okay, the chicken here is almost done. I'm going to give it probably another minute for the bigger pieces, but I don't see anything that isn't white. I see no pink anymore. And that's good. And I've got my butter here. And I will move the seasonings off to the side because I do not need them anymore. I don't need the rosemary. I still need the salt and pepper. Trying to keep my sleeves out of the cooking. that is done. And I am going to put that in the 9 by 13 baking pan that we have sitting here with the cooked mushrooms and other vegetables. Vegetables. Sorry, I was a little far away from the microphone. Maybe I need some more of the monster. Okay, so I am now going to take pretty much 3/4 of a stick of butter. And a whole stick of butter is 1/2 cup of butter. So this is probably, I don't know, my brain isn't working right. That's 3/4 of a stick of butter. So let's just call it that. And I think I'm going to cut myself actually. I feel a nick. And then I'm going to add a little bit of oil to it. Not much, just a tiny bit. And this is going to be the base of our bechamel. So, I now have that stuck in there. Double checking the chicken under a different light. Yep, it looks pretty good. The point of seasoning the chicken and not everything as you go through is that the herbs I'm using are pretty powerful, and what you want to do is make sure that your chicken, that is going to be in every bite pretty much, is very well seasoned. So, right. And so I've got 3/4 of a cup of flour in here and a little bit of oil. And to that I am going to be adding about 3/4 of a cup of flour. And you want to keep that in even measure. And when you blend them together, what you are looking for, is that all the way off? Is that on? There it goes. And this is again under a medium to medium high. Your pans may differ. This pan in particular heats up very well, so I cook in it in a lower temperature than I do in most pans. Anyway, when you blend the flour and the butter together, you're looking for a consistency like wet sand, or a little bit looser than that. And I am using a whisk here, and it is a rubber, or well, this is rubber. It is a plastic-coated whisk so that I don't harm the surface of my nice pan here. And now what you want to do is let this cook for 4 to 5 minutes before adding your milk in, because you want this flour to cook. You want it to not taste like flour. So, there we have that. Pour out the milk, and this is about 3.5 cups of milk. Okay, and this is 2%. Hey Tina Bug, nice to see you. Welcome in. You are watching me make the sauce for my white chicken lasagna. And everyone else has seen me do the diced onions and celery, about 1 pound of 2 different kinds of mushrooms, both white button mushrooms and the cremini mushrooms. It's got 2 pounds of chicken that I just sauteed in here, and that's chicken breast, diced up along with some herbs. And that is now waiting for this sauce to finish. And as you can see it's actually boiling here. So it's cooking flour and butter. And I can see that the flour has changed color. It is, instead of being sort of a really pale beige from the butter, which was unsalted butter, it now is a deeper one, deeper beige. So basically, and at the edges where it's boiling, it is also a lighter color as the flour cooks. Okay, MPH, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Welcome in, and thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time. All right, now I pour in the milk at once, because once you start adding it, you'll get clumps if you don't. So I am now taking this 3.5 cups of milk, and I lowered the heat down to medium. I am now making a bechamel in the same pan that I cooked the chicken and the mushrooms, so there's a residual flavor from that in here too. So it's going to go in the same sauce, so that's pretty good. Now what I have to get ready is I will be adding a cup of sour cream to this once the sauce tightens up and thickens to the right consistency. And unlike when I'm making these for thickening a soup or making a chowder or something like that, I'm not making it really, really thick. I am just making it a normal sauce consistency. And it really doesn't take that long to come together. So about maybe 5 minutes maybe for the average sauce. Okay. I'm going to hydrate again. Yeah, this is a sour cream mushroom sauce that goes in this. It only has a bit of the sour cream flavor to it, so it's not like it's really strong. It just adds an extra creaminess to this and gives you, well, more opportunities for a little bit more depth of flavor, because the sour cream adds a slight tartness to it. Not enough that you go, ooh, this is sour cream. No, it's not enough for 1 cup of sour cream into almost 4 cups of the milk. So it does, however, make it really taste nice when you add everything together and mix it with mozzarella. It does, however, add a nice extra flavor in it when you are mixing it with the mozzarella and shredded Colby Jack. And it's a very nice flavor. I had a friend of mine tell me that she absolutely loved lasagna, but unfortunately tomatoes did not agree with her anymore. And she said, "What do you have any alternatives to that?" And I said, "Well, I have a white chicken lasagna. It's made with a white sauce instead." And she says, "Perfect." So she made the half recipe, which makes 1 pan of lasagna. The recipe as written makes 2. So go ahead and cut it in half if you only want to try 1. Hey, Mrs. Nagatron, welcome in, welcome in. You are here at the sauce point where I am making the white sauce to go into my white chicken lasagna. Can you give Tina Bug a shout out, and also Nagatron, though I don't know if he's watching or lurking or whatever. No, it's a white chicken lasagna, so it's a little different. There we go. Nagatron plays the long dark and does the science on it, so if you want to figure out why something happens, he's out there debugging it and trying to figure it out and prove scientifically what the actual answer is. And Tina Bug is, I believe, considered a... Hey, Nog, welcome in. Tina Bug, I believe, is a variety streamer. I think she plays some other games too, but she also plays the Long
Pink
Dark.
pig.
Pink pig! Pink pig! Yay! Pink pig! She's hovering around here. So. Oh, you're welcome, Tina Bug. I just love your stream. She does the Long Dark too, and she's a wonderful streamer. Has a beautiful voice. Did somebody pay for a pink pig? Pink pig! Hang on, let me get this out. Pink pig! Yay! Pink pig! Ah! She's very thrilled about this lasagna. Yee! Okay, so I'm going to go back up. And that would be my Cupid stitch. He says hi too. And actually, I believe I got the other new guys. They're not really new, but I haven't shown them before. I got the little gun set that had jingle bells in it. I think my husband took them away from me because I jingled them directly in front of the microphone. Oh yeah, I've had a few stitches here, and it's one of 4, I believe. I have a little stitch, I have a big stitch that's weighted, and I have the Valentine's Day stitch and a tiny beanbag stitch too, so it's a nice little family of stitch. I just think they're cute. What can I say? You know, I loved Lilo and Stitch. No, I'm not using a different mic. Why, does it sound different? Oh, it does sound different. I don't know. It's the same mic. Maybe it's just my voice being froggy. I don't know. It is the mic we've used for, I think this is our 3rd stream using it. So, alright, now this sauce is almost done. I can see it's making a nice sauce. Yeah, I keep turning my head away because I'm not used to having a central mic. I'm used to the one that follows my head around because it's attached to my headset that, you know, it's a gaming headset. And you can take a look at our equipment. It's there on our Discord under stream equipment. Okay, this sauce is now thick enough. I am going to turn the heat off and then bring it down here so it doesn't keep cooking, because I don't want that. And now I add a cup of full fat sour cream to it, because yum. If you want to be looking out for your cholesterol, you can feel free to use a low-fat or non-fat sour cream. And if you are going to go vegan, there are vegan alternatives to this, but I can't imagine why you'd be watching a chicken stream if you were vegan. Alright, so this is now going to go in here. And I am going to now whisk the sour cream into the bechamel sauce. Anyway, and if it is thicker than you want it to be, which it is at this time, you can just take your milk and add a bit more. So I am going to add about another half cup and whisk that in there. This also needs to be checked for salt and pepper. This is the appropriate time to see if your white sauce tastes right. So, I'm how thick it is. It looks about like whipped up yogurt now. So, and as I expected, it needs salt. It tastes nice and creamy though. And the texture is absolutely spot on. It's an amazing creamy thickness here. I am probably adding a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I also watch the salt in this because this is going to have a lot of cheese in it. And cheese is a very salty thing. Okay, so that's about a 1/4 teaspoon of ground rock salt. I'm going to add a touch of pepper to this. Not a lot. Probably the equivalent of about a pinch. So, I don't want to have it actually taste like pepper because my husband does not like pepper. Alright, now you mix that up so the seasonings are here together. And we put the lid on what's left of the sour cream. Get this all mixed up. And then I'm going to take this and switch places cleverly with our container here that has the, lift this up and put it up there while I move over the holding tray for all of the other ingredients. And like I said, this has over a pound of mushrooms, both white button and cremini. It's got 2 pounds of chicken in it. It's got celery, a sweet onion, and it has black olives sliced. Leave those out if you don't like them, but I do, so they're in mine. And now I will take the sauce and pour it over the top. And as you can see, this is the size of the container that's going to have the finished lasagna in it. And oh, look at that! The sauce covers it all the way to the top. Okay. And now I'm just going to put that up there off the hot burner. And we'll take and mix this up. So as you can see, there's brown streaks running through it now, and that is the combined mushroom cooking juices and the chicken cooking juices with all of the herbs and such that are in here. And although this recipe is not up yet, it will be shortly. I may have them be out of order because I haven't put the soup recipes up yet, nor the omelet. Do you guys want the omelet directions? I strongly suggest, I champion the Cuisinart brand of hard anodized aluminum. It's very non-stick. It's a good heavy pan. You get years of use out of it, and it's easily as nice as the much more expensive brand I'm not going to name. Alright, so let's get this out of the way. And now we take the baking pan, identical to what we just did, and I am going to belly this up right next to it and get that out of the way. And what we want to do is take some of this liquidy lovely sauce and put it all across the bottom of the pan. So that's, let's see, this is a 1/2 cup. So that's probably a good 1.5 cups you want to spread across the bottom. And then you're going to reach down here and get, because this is going to go in the oven and the cooking time is 45 minutes, which is enough to cook the oven-ready lasagna. I've got these lovely oven-ready lasagna strips, nice and curly on the edges, and you just layer that in here. And because these pans are smaller than my actual lasagna pan, This is only going to go 2 layers of lasagna. It is listed in my stream equipment, and it is the Cuisinart hard anodized aluminum pan. They're really nice. Okay, so then we take, you can use ricotta for this if you like the flavor better. I use cottage cheese because cottage cheese melts. And you put a little bit of cottage cheese down these rows. And the 2 pans will use a 24-ounce container of cottage cheese or ricotta. And this is going to be a nice, cheesy, creamy, chicken-filled sauce when I'm done here. And now we add in the chicken and mushroom layer like we mean it. And all of this sauce is actually going to end up in this pan. Lots of chicken, lots of mushrooms, lots of creamy goodness. If you were to taste this sauce right now, it is a really rich cream of mushroom soup with some extra spices in it you don't normally find in it, like basil and oregano. And of course it has the chicken in it too, so it's kind of a cream of chicken mushroom sauce. Okay. Finish this off here. Make sure I've got a nice even layer across the whole thing. And then it is time to add the cheese. So, I am going to start with the mozzarella. Sorry, I did it again. I turned my head. I'm going to add a layer of mozzarella cheese, and this is whole milk mozzarella. It's not the partially skimmed. Just has better flavor, I think. That is flavor. So the recipe all in all calls for about 4 pounds of cheese between the 2 pans. So, and now we add in shredded Colby Jack on top of it as well. Lots of cheese, because that's the point of lasagna, isn't it? The meat and the cheese. Okay. I mean, the noodles are really only there to separate the meat and the cheese. Okay, so we've got that on here. Now we want to, where did I put them? There they are. Let's put our last layer of noodles on here. So we have a second set of 3 noodles. So if you use these disposable pans, you're looking at probably a 2-layer lasagna. With the noodles, it's actually close to 3 levels of the stuffing. And for a regular lasagna pan, you can do 3 or 4 layers. And that's pretty darn nice too. I am going to put the oops, sorry. If that clunked, I apologize. I just ran my head into the microphone. Okay. And I'm going to take that, add it to that, and use this to get the last of the cottage cheese out of the bottom. It's a little skimpy on this level, but my hungry father found the cottage cheese in the refrigerator and had a little bit of it. Not much, but yeah. So we're a little short on the cottage cheese on this one. And now we go to the second layer of the meat, and this is going to be pretty much the rest of it. It's got a lot of sauce in here. Headbutt attack? Yeah, sometimes I can't help myself. Hedgepigs are like that. They like to headbutt things and run their little spines into it. And they like to run in formation sometimes, singing Ride of the Valkyries. And they're really very silly creatures. My husband found a headline that said they are using hedgehogs in the ongoing bit of nastiness that's broken out there and in Europe. And I said those are kind of like the crow's foot that are... you've got 3 points down and 1 point up all the time, so it just shreds tires and makes it really hard for anybody to walk on them. And for some reason, they call those hedgehogs, in England at least. I am going to take this sauce and pour it over the top here, so that we basically have as much as I can humanly get in here. Fresh, this will take 45 minutes to cook, and that's 45 minutes and then another 10 to take the tent off of it, the aluminum foil, and let the cheese brown. I am actually going to freeze this one because we have already made one for you all to look at and feel incredibly jealous. So, this now goes with another layer of mozzarella. And we're pretty generous with the cheese because that's one of our favorite things. And my headset is slipping off. Woohoo! Yay! I caught it. And then this is a new container of Colby Jack. And I'm going to add a layer of that on here too. And each handful as I do this is probably about a 3/4 of a cup. Altogether, this uses 24 ounces of mozzarella, 24 ounces of cottage cheese. It has 2 pounds of mozzarella and 2 pounds of shredded Colby Jack. And if you want to change the cheese to like a 3 cheddar shred, that's fine, if that works for you. And a 3 cheddar is basically a mild, a medium, and a sharp cheddar all in one place. Now, we take our aluminum foil here and we make a cover for this. So we measure it out. Put the cover on top. Clamp it down around the sides. And this would then go in a preheated 350-degree oven. And I am going to have my husband come and take it away, and you will see the finished product, which I will cut for you all. And I am just just now sitting here waiting for Andrew. I've actually been cooking for a few hours now since this is the second lasagna I've made this afternoon. Are you coming out?
What the hell do you want?
Oh, there we go. Okay. You know what? Take the whole. No, we need that. No, we don't.
Just.
That goes away. And I will put this lasagna, or this cutting board here. Excuse me. I'm going to take and use my hydrate again.
Here's one we made
Do
earlier.
we have a pan or a plate? Okay. Where am I going with this? I am going to use a spatula to cut it with. And each one of these makes about 9 servings. Depending on how you cut it. This one is a bit runnier than some of the sauces. It's got a lot of cheese and a lot of milk products. And these things always look better after they've been in the oven for a while, and then again in the pan, solidifying. You know, you take them out and they just sluice all over everywhere. So I am going to take this and try to get a good serving on here. Might not be the prettiest piece of food, but it's going to be tasty. The rest of this on here. And I'm going to sever all the stringy cheese, and as you can see, it's very stringy and cheesy. Photos. Okay. And finish it with a little sprinkle of parsley so it looks pretty.
Oh no, that looks horrible. You shouldn't let anyone have that.
I shouldn't let anybody have that.
I should just take that and dispose of it.
Here is the finished lasagna sliding all over the plate. And there you go.
Where's your cell?
There you go. And Andrew is now going to take a picture of it, and I am going to taste what's left over here in the pan. And I will scoop up some of the chicken and some of the mushrooms and have the cheese and the sauce, and I don't think you can really see this here, but there's cheese hanging off the bottom here. You can see it as I wrap it around. Yeah. Now I'm going to taste it. Oh, that's so good. That is just so good. Cooked like this. You can taste the blend of cheeses. The Colby Jack really adds something different to it. You don't normally find that in a lasagna. And you can taste the sage and oregano, the basil that's on here. You can taste a little bit of the rosemary. The sour cream is a little more intense here. And you can taste the mushrooms. They are very front forward here. You have the tender chicken in it. And that sauce is just so creamy and nice and full of mushroom flavor. And you can taste the tang of the sour cream, but it's not really an attack of, this is sour cream! And this is our white chicken mushroom lasagna. And it is made with cremini mushrooms, white mushrooms, a bunch of chicken breast, 2 pounds per tray, and it has black olives and a white sauce that is made with all of the chicken juices and all of the cooking juices for the mushrooms. And then it has the sour cream put in there. It's got black olives that add their own little taste to it, and this is just a really unusual creamy chicken dish that, like I said, when it's brand new, you've just put it together like what you saw me just do. That's 45 minutes in a 350 degree oven. And then you take the top off, you take the aluminum foil off and cook it for another 10 minutes so the top gets to brown a little and it'll be all bubbly all around the outsides. And if you freeze it, try to thaw it first. Leave it on your counter for an hour or two so it can thaw out a little bit, but it is looking at 350 degrees for about 2 hours at that point. And then you'll take the top off and make sure that the middle is actually melted, and if it's not, you might want to check by putting the thermometer. They have oven thermometers. You might want to put that in there and check that your 350 degree oven really is 350 degrees, because that's not always the case, especially if you're living in an apartment where you get nasty appliances. So that's 2 hours plus for a frozen lasagna. You can keep it frozen for up to 6 months. And if you want to bake it off right now and then cut it into individual servings and put it into a TV dinner kind of thing where you package it up into one of those plastic containers that goes from freezer to your microwave to you, you can put these pieces into something like that, and it is then about 12 minutes on high. You should probably do about 4 minutes of it on a medium and then the rest of it on a high so that it gets nice and bubbly and gets everything melted. And this is our white chicken lasagna. I hope you guys get a chance to try it, and we are looking to stream again on Tuesday. No idea what I'm going to cook yet. We are not going to be having a stream next Saturday because that's someone's birthday. That would be Andrew's birthday. And the rule of the house is no work for Andrew. It's his birthday! Yay! It's his birthday! And so that's next Saturday, and we will not be seen that day. And I will see if I can maybe work in another stream during the week, but we'll see. We've been having a lot of things going on. Uh-oh, it's a pink pig! Pink pig! Yay! It's a pink pig! Happy birthday to Andrew! Yay! Pink pig! Yay! Yay! Mwah! So he even got a kiss from Pink Pig. All right, so this recipe will be up in my Discord, I promise. And give it a try when you want to have something a little different than your average. I promise you this does not taste like chicken Alfredo. It is very definitely a creamy mushroom sour cream sauce in here mixing with all the cheese. Andrew, tell them what, if you actually like the lasagna. I know you said it was terrible and you should just dispose of it all. But let's, it's yummy and almost gone. Okay. Now let's take a look and see what is going on Twitch. See if there's somebody that we can raid. And is there anybody that's actually doing cooking that I know of? No. Okay. We're going to give a raid to Ocelot, and he is Ocelot 1961. If you want to do the thing there, he is streaming The Long Dark, and he's been gone for quite a while, but he's back now and starting to get back into streaming. And welcome back. So, all right. I want to thank everybody. Oh, you're so welcome, Tina Bug. And thank you so much, everybody who came and everybody who watches the VOD later. And thank you for the time on your Saturdays. It really means a lot to know that you are taking time out of your regular Saturday to watch me cook some frippery here. It's a very good frippery, though. So I want to thank everybody who's come, and we're going to go see Ocelot. I'll see you guys all on Tuesday.